맞춰 어쩐지 오늘인지 본이 안 갈 때까지 네 모습이 흐려져도 절대 널 못 잊게 I got you babe I love you babe
The university courtyard buzzed with the usual energy of students crisscrossing between buildings, clutching coffee, cups, and textbooks. You sat at one of the picnic tables under the shade of a large oak tree, tapping the end of your pen against a notebook. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves, creating a dapper pattern on the ground, and you were attempting to focus on your notes. Across from you, he sat, your best friend, Jimin, scrolling through his phone with a casual grin. He hadn't said much since you both met up after class, but that was normal. Comfortable silences were one of the best things about your friendship. Hey, you're spacing out, he suddenly said, flicking his eyes up from his phone to catch you staring off into the distance. Am I? You blinked and refocused, letting out a laugh. Just thinking about this assignment. He raised an eyebrow, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. Sure, because thinking hard about your notes requires looking at the clouds. You rolled your eyes, but a smile spread across your face. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm over this essay. More like over this whole semester? He leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms over his head, his muscles flexing under his shirt. When's the last time you took a break? You sighed, slumping back against the bench. Too long. Between exams, group projects, and keeping up with work, it feels like I haven't had a second to myself. You should come to the party tonight then, he suggested, his voice casual, but there was something in his tone, something lighter, as if he were testing the waters. You gave him a doubtful look. A party? You know that's not really my thing. He scoffed playfully. Come on, you deserve a break. Besides, I'll be there. We can hang out like old times. I'll make sure no one bothers you. Parties weren't your scene. But the way he was looking at you now, a soft smile on his face, made it hard to say no. And if I still don't have one? You asked, half teasing, half serious. I love you, he said confidently, his eyes locking onto yours. Anything you want. You chuckled at the offer, shaking your head. That's a promise. I trust you won't make me regret it. He stood back with a grin, leaning forward, closer than usual, and for a second your heart skipped a beat. You'd known each other for years. The teasing, the way he always made you laugh, it was easy, effortless. But lately, there'd been this undercurrent, an energy between you that felt different, heavier somehow. The thought of it sent a flicker of nervous excitement through you, but you pushed it aside. He was your best friend, after all. Crossing that line could change everything. Still, you found yourself agreeing to his suggestion. Fine, I'll go. But you're staying by my side the whole night. His smile widened, a spark of something unreadable in his eyes. Deal. The music thumped through the walls, vibrations buzzing through your as you stepped into the dimly lit house party. Lights flickered, casting colorful beams across the room filled with people. You stayed close to him, feeling a bit out of your element, but true to his word, he stuck by your side. He handed you a drink, leaning in so you could hear him over the music. Not too bad, right? You took a sip, scanning the crowd. It's fine, you admitted, but I'm still not on the whole party scene. He laughed, leaning in closer again, his breath warm against your ear. That's because you're not letting loose. You turned to him, your faces inches apart now. His eyes met yours, for a moment too long, and for the first time that night, the playful atmosphere between you shifted. There was a tension that hadn't been there before, a tension that made your stomach twist with anticipation. You don't always have to be so serious, you know, he said softly, his voice almost drowned out by the music but still clear in the space between you. I like seeing you like this, relaxed. You swallowed hard, feeling your pulse quicken. It's just been a lot lately. He nodded, but his gaze never left yours. I know, you've been taking on too much, but I've got your back. You know that, right? I do, you said quietly, your heart racing for reasons that had nothing to do with the party and everything to do with the way his hand brushed against your arm when he said those words. For a long moment, the noise around you seemed to fade into the background. All you could focus on was him, his warmth, the intensity of his gaze, the way his seemed just a little too close, and yet you couldn't bring yourself to move away. Then, as if sensing the movement was becoming too much, he broke the spell, his signature playful smile returning. Come on, let's go outside. It's too loud in here. You followed him out onto the porch, the cool night air hitting your as you stepped away from the noise of the party. The sound of crickets filled the space, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves overhead. He leaned against the railing, his hands in his pockets, and looked over at you. Better? Yeah, you said with a small smile, feeling the tension ease slightly. Much better. You stood in comfortable silence for a moment, but that earlier tension, the one you thought had passed still. He seemed different tonight, more serious. more intense. You had been friends for years, but something unspoken had been bubbling under the surface lately. And tonight it felt closer to breaking through. He broke the silence first. You ever wonder what would happen if we, I don't know, didn't just stay friends? His words hit you like a jolt, and you blinked at him, unsure if you'd heard him correctly. What do you mean? He chuckled softly, shaking his head. I mean, we've been close for so long, but lately I've been thinking, what if there's more to this? To us? Your heart raced, your mind spinning. You had thought about it. You'd been trying not to for so long, but now that he was saying it out loud. Before you could respond, the moment was broken by the sudden beep of his phone. He glanced at the screen and sighed. I have to head out. Meeting with my group for the project. You blinked, still reeling from what had just been said. Oh, right. Yeah, of course. The sound of rushing water filled the small bathroom, the warmth of the shower wrapping around you like a comforting embrace. You were home alone, and for the first time that day, you let yourself relax. The weight of the week washed away as the water cascaded down you, and you felt yourself slip into a peaceful state of mind. Your hands worked through the strands of your hair, the 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜 shampoo turning into thick foam that covered your scalp. Eyes squeezed shut, you hummed to yourself softly, letting the sound of the water drown out the world around you. Then you heard it. Footsteps. Your heart skipped a beat, and your hands froze mid-movement. You were home alone, weren't you? Panic instantly gripped you as your mind raced with possibilities. Did you leave the door unlocked? Was someone in your house? For a moment, you told yourself it was your imagination, but the footsteps were unmistakable, slow, deliberate, getting closer. The door creaked open. Your eyes were still closed, the sting of the shampoo forcing you to keep them shut. You tried to call out, but fear lodged itself in your throat. You stood there frozen under the water, hearing the faint rustle of clothes or footsteps behind you. Then the shower curtains was pulled open with a sharp whoosh, and the cool air from outside the stall rushed over you, sending a shiver down your spine. Before you could react, cold hands, your waist, causing a gasp to escape your, was firm but gentle, sending both fear and something else entirely through your. You tried to turn, tried to see through the thick lather of shampoo covering your eyes, but all you could feel were those hands pulling you around slowly. A voice whispered, deep and familiar. The cold hands moved to your face, and you felt a thumb carefully wipe away the soap from your eyes. Slowly blinking against the remnants of the shampoo, your vision cleared, and you were met with the last person you expected to see. Your best friend, Jimin. He stood there, close enough that you could feel his breath against your damp. His eyes roamed over yours before they settled on your face, full of an intensity you had never seen before. Your heart pounded wildly in your chest, a mixture of shock, embarrassment, and something more primal flooding your senses. Instinctively, you crossed your arms over yours, trying to shield yourself, but his hands gently grabbed your wrist, pulling them away. "It's beautiful," he murmured, his voice soft, almost reverent. "No need to hide." The sincerity in his words, the way his eyes never wavered from yours, sent a rush off through yours, and suddenly the cold air wasn't what was making you shiver. You started, your voice barely above a whisper, but you couldn't find the words. Butterflies swarmed in your stomach, and the room seemed to close in around the two of you. Everything else, the water, the shower, the fear that had gripped you moments before, faded away. There was only him and the look in his eyes. He stepped closer, so close that his brushed against yours, the warmth of his now mixing with the chill in the air. His breath was warm against your face as he leaned in, his inches from yours. "I've been waiting for this for a long time," he confessed, his voice low and full of. Your heart skipped again, and you couldn't breathe, couldn't think. He leaned in further, his barely brushing yours. The anticipation was almost unbearable. And then you. It wasn't gentle, nor was it rushed. It was full of everything you had never said to each other. Every unspoken thought and hidden glance that had passed between you. His were warm and firm, his hands moving from your waist to your back, pulling you closer until there was no space left between yours. Asking for permission that you gave without a second thought. Your hands moved off their own accord, tangling in his hair, pulling him closer as the water continued to rain down around you both. His hands explored, slow and deliberate, and every within you. The butterflies in your stomach turned into a storm of emotions, and all you could do was hold on to him, feeling like you were drowning in the intensity of it all. When he finally pulled back, both of you were breathing heavily, your foreheads resting against each other. His hands were still on your waist, holding you steady as your legs to give out. "Why didn't you say anything before?" you managed to ask, your voice shaky and breathless. He smiled, his thumb gently tracing circles on your. "I was afraid you'd push me away." You laughed softly, shaking your head in disbelief. "And now?" He leaned in again, brushing against your ear. "Now, I don't want to stop." You shivered at his words, at the feel of his breath on your. His found again, softer this time, more tender, but still filled with the same intensity. The world outside ceased to exist, and for the first time, you let yourself give in to everything you had never let yourself feel before. It was only the beginning.
more.